Board meeting of Monday, February 17th, 2025 to order. Item 2 is additions or deletions to the agenda. Let's see, 1.
I move to add to the new business section of the agenda a discussion on upcoming work priorities for the Assistant Town Administrator Project Coordinator.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So D. Work priority. Yeah. Item 3 is the executive session, the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee for 1 VSA 313A3.
Anyone in addition to Liam?
I don't think so, just Liam.
Just Liam.
So I'm happy to do it. I move to enter executive session to consider the evaluation of a public employee pursuant to Title I VSA Section 313A3 and invite Liam Elio. Shane, do you want to stay?
Sure, if you want. It's up to you.
And Shane to attend the executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Great.
Item 4, minutes approval, meetings of 2/3/2025.
I move to approve the minutes of select board meetings of February 3rd, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Got it.
Second. Aye.
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 Item 5, select board pay orders.
I move to approve the pay orders for payroll and accounts payable.
Do we have a second?
No, second, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 6, announcements and correspondence.
Just big thanks to the Highway Department for a really tough storm this weekend, and did a really nice job, and thank you for that effort. In the meeting packet, it's the following items under FYI, or for your information. There's a email from the Winter Regional Commission inviting all select boards in the region to a region-wide select board member gathering on the 12th of March at from noon to 1:30 at the Newbrook Fire Department. It does require registration, and I can help you with that if you want, but it's in that document. Those are really worthwhile going to. We have an example letter sent to property owners surrounding the Reinhardt Road Culvert project. I sent a letter out to them trying to begin discussions of acquisition of both temporary and permanent easements for that project. I don't want to put it out to bid until we've got the easements, so we need to act quickly, but all we have is home addresses, so hopefully they'll be in contact with me pretty shortly. We also have settlement agreements in your meeting packet on the Act 250 permit application from Blue Flame Gas. They've been working on that for a couple of years now on 3 Valley View Road in Landgrove. Lastly, there's the monthly report from the Sheriff's Department for January. That's all I have.
Thank you. Item 7, visitors and concerned citizens.
Pamela Spalding, I'm here for this as a resident, and I was wondering if there was an update about the town website and when it will be available.
Well, that's on me. Heather Stevenson and others put together a really nice RFP. I've just been all out and not been able to get it out. It would take me about 20 minutes to do it, and I just need to dedicate that time, and I'll get it done this week.
But it is.
It's in the minutes. But
It is going to be.
yeah, we have selected 3 vendors that we're going to send an RFP out to. Again, Heather Stevenson did a super good job on that, and so we're looking to get that out as soon as possible.
Okay,
Just been pretty busy.
Anyone else? Item 8, town official business. 8A is Board of Listers Annual Certificate of No Appeals / Suits.
Yeah, you have a letter in the meeting packet. It's from the listers, signed by them, indicating that they're not aware of any appeals, suits, or anything like that. And this is an important document to have in the file because if there is a suit in the future, that it's just one of those things that's important to have in the file. That's all. But at this time, there are no suits filed. So if someone claims that there was, this is an indicator that it wasn't done timely.
Happy to move it. I move that the board approve and sign the annual certificate of no appeal or suit pending.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 8B, Planning Commission, updates and discussion on commission matters.
Pamela Spalding again, but this time from the Planning Commission. I wondered on January 6th, we presented a request for the board to approve the stipend from fiscal year 24 to 25 to be used for the town hall renovation fund. And that, the decision at that time was to table that decision. So I was wondering if you were now ready to make a decision on that request. And there was some discussion about how to transfer the funds, because it's my understanding that it isn't as simple as just taking that stipend and putting it into the town hall renovation fund. It has to go in a more circular way.
Yeah, that was, Tina was gonna come up with the best idea, and I haven't heard from her about that. I'll bring that up with her tomorrow, and we can come back to that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
The second thing was that at the Londonderry Long-Term Recovery Committee meeting, Ed Swanberg did a presentation of the river corridors, and he said that he would be willing to do a presentation to the Planning Commission and Select Board. What I'm proposing is that the Housing Commission and Conservation Committee be included in that, or even better, that it be a public meeting.
Well, if all of you, if all the planning commission is there, it's gotta be a public meeting, so.
I'm talking about a townwide
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay. So glad we can't do that. That's good.
Okay. And then the third thing is about a transcriptionist for the Planning Commission. And wondering if the Select Board has given any consideration to hiring another transcriptionist for the town to be available to type our minutes from recordings versus having to attend the actual meetings. Because it's my feeling that the person that is hired, either individually or whatever, or through the town, needs to have a municipal transcriptionist background versus just a business background, because of the language that is used in the different committees. You know, the wastewater committee is very technical. You know, the planning commission has certain, I call it languages that they use, and the person has to be really familiar with those, otherwise it gets lost in the translation. Aside from the fact that the open meeting law requires that the minutes be posted 5 calendar days after the meeting. It becomes a nightmare. That's it.
I haven't really had any discussion on getting another minute taker.
I think the closest we came was with using AI to get the draft. It's just a draft that's required to be submitted within the 5 days.
Yeah.
So we were suggesting that possibly technology, AI technology would assist in that initial draft, and then someone, when they had more time, could go through and make it a little more accurate. Or
That's something Jen brought up to us.
Right.
And I think that's what we were considering.
Yeah, I mean, we can always.
I think that's like as simple as like a phone app or something, maybe.
That's what she has, is on her phone.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
2 apps. It's
Yeah.
the companion on the recording itself, and then it's ChatGPT to format it into minutes, if you will. So
Yeah.
it's putting it through 2 different.
Right.
It's not that. And in fact, I think Gary would say too that the Village Wastewater Group has done that now for the last meeting and seem to be pleased with it. It's not an ideal solution, but it does get it done pretty quickly. So maybe with Jen's help or Heather's help, she was helpful, but the Village Wastewater Group might be able to fast track that for you.
Well, Jen's got a thing that clicks right to her phone that does it in real time.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called.
yeah, the AI companion on a Zoom meeting or something like that can do it, start it as well, and then you just run it through the.
Yeah, I did that on one of our meetings. I mistakenly hit the AI companion, and it
Remarkable.
banged down a really good,
Yeah.
really good meeting notes.
But I would, Pam, I would say it's our best interest to make sure you guys are able to attend to those minute posting guidelines so that they are done on time and done as effectively as possible. And, you know, if I would say, try the computer-assisted technology. And I don't know if we've got other committees that we're thinking about helping with maybe a transcription service as well. I don't know, but we have to help you be successful, so.
Great.
And it's really hard. We've got a lot of boards and committees and
Yeah.
commissions and all that, and each of them kind of run their meetings a little bit differently, and they're volunteers, and that's okay. But, you know, we do have the open meeting law where we have to get things done within 5 business days. And it doesn't have to be the end approved minutes, it just has to be a draft, as you say.
Right.
But with all the boards and committees, it's just really tough. I mean, part of my job description is to ensure that all boards and committees are meeting those requirements, and it's hard to track. It really is. I mean, it's a big time taker upper. Times. You know what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Do we have a line item in the budget and will be approved or at least discussed at the meeting here in March that does have additional money for administrative services?
Well, we have a budget line for a minute taker, and it took a while to hire someone to do that.
Right.
And so there's money in the budget for that, for bringing someone on.
But is that dedicated to Sally?
Well, yeah.
Her portion of the year when she's been employed.
Yeah, Sally's salary comes from that budget line. I think we increased it also this last year a little bit. I don't recall right offhand. But yeah, there's money in the budget for it.
It's been difficult, like even with the transfer station and some of these low-hour
Yep.
jobs are difficult to.
Do we want to make a commitment, though, that some dollar amount of that line item is available to the planning commission if they feel they can find someone to do that work? I don't know how, I want to get us off of a.
Well, I mean, you guys have your own budget as well, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's supported by.
But
I'm sorry.
I just want to say, when this was discussed at town meeting a year or so ago, and it was the big topic of discussion, it was only $3,500, or I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? But, you know, the warning article did say for select board and other boards and committees as determined by the select board.
Yeah.
I feel like we doubled it. Like it was up to 7,000 almost.
Yeah,
but-
you can check the budget. Well, I'll look it up.
Here's maybe a starting place would be to ask the planning commission if they had a proposed budget for what that service could cost. And then we could decide whether or not we want to allocate that line item that we've got beyond Sally's work for the select board for one of the committees, and at this point it would be
We
that.
did have somebody at the last planning commission who did our minutes. I haven't seen them yet, but there was someone there, and she was given an employee form in case she decided that she would do it for
Oh,
us.
okay, okay.
But you know, if she doesn't, then we're sort of back to square one, because Steve doesn't feel that he can do the job. That's hard. He's going to be the one that.
It's hard to be an active participant
Yeah.
and take the minutes as well. Yeah, that's
So
certainly
looking at
understandable.
different ways to accomplish that, and our budget for 25-26 was, for communications was increased, and part of that was going to go to our IT guy, and part of it was so that we could increase, possibly get somebody to do transcription, but
Yeah.
the town would, you know, pay part of it or whatever, because I don't know what they would require, or, you know.
Well, I would say my thinking would be come up with a budget of what you think you need to draw out of that.
Yeah, I know what I think,
Yep.
but I think it would be the same as Ryan, which was 25 an hour, minimum of $50 a meeting. But I also don't know how much time, like Sally, I don't know how much time she has to spend going through and making sure she has everything for the minutes that she needs to put. And Sally does a phenomenal job with the select board minutes, and I'd like to see the planning commission have that same type of support.
In the budget, right, in this year's budget, there's $3350, and for next year's is $6,500, FY '26.
Liam?
Just a quick clarification and then potentially a question. With the minutes, are you looking for like an actual word by word? No, it's a synopsis, correct?
No, the motions have to be precise, according to the open meeting law. The motions have to be precise, and getting people to write them down as they're worded, okay, is the difficulty. Instead of just giving, you know, so-and-so made a motion to discuss whatever versus, you know, if you look at the minutes from the select board meeting, Shane is then the references the state statute. So Sally has an easier time to do that. In the planning commission, our motions are made without that as part of it, you know.
If you have a recording, there are a lot of AI tools that can do it very cheaply and quickly. And to get you a draft, I can give you a couple of names. I have it. I was actually just looking at an old email. It's a company called Otter, the script. I realize that you need a human to review it, but at least you get that draft and you can get it really quickly.
The draft is, you know, the AI drafted, and the problem was who made the motion, who seconded, you know, did anybody abstain?
Right, someone has to go in and put a name next to each of those statements. My own class, if you have a recording, you could do a lot.
Also, the minutes are required to include the gist of the discussion. Not every detail, but so that, and I think the goal of the select board is to have anybody in town be able to read the minutes and know exactly what happened and, you know not too much jargon and things like that. That's been the goal so far.
My follow-up was that for the Parks Board and the Advisory Committee, we use Zoom so people can come in, but also we record just so I can go back. And yes, you do have to spend the time going through it, but you can get all that information because it is recorded, so. That's the human version.
Teams does the same.
Yeah.
Yep. I know with Sally, I know it's hard, you have a full-time job, and so. I'm not, you know, just saying, we would need to find someone who has the time to do it, because you can't expect more than one night from someone working a full-time job.
Right.
So the starting point is if that person wants to put in
Take your
an
time.
the starting point is if that person you guys have wants to put in an application, they certainly can, and it seems like we have money in the budget coming up, so.
We overspent last year, though.
I know we spent on just about everything last year.
Is that,
moving on to 8C, Mountain Towns Recreation Director, consider compensation rates for parks and recreation temporary part-time employees.
Thank you guys. Of course, right after our meeting, I got updated information from Jason at FBAA. So the baseball umpire wages, did you get a copy of the new proposed? Okay.
Page 12 in your packet.
Yes, so at a minimum, we're looking for the the home plate umpire, and sometimes they're running it by themselves. That position has been paid traditionally differently than the secondary umpire who's out on the bases. So that would be either a home plate or a solo umpire going for $25 an hour, and those games are limited to 2 hours. So that would be $50 for that, and then the secondary base up at $20 an hour going to $40. And I don't know if it's appropriate now if I can add this to it, but there's been a lot of talk with basketball that those rates generally are going up at least $5, and didn't know if now would be the time to get that done since I'm here, so I don't have to bother you with another meeting down the road next year.
And why is it increased by 5?
Just seems
From
to
last
be
week
what the no, just like that's the talk. There's at the higher levels, like high school's already gone up to 50. Some of the towns, there's some varying, some are at 40, some are at 45 already. So I don't know if it's...
I would prefer to wait until then and
Okay.
act on what we have here.
Great. I'm sure I'll have other things to bring you away by next year.
Sorry. Come back.
Nope, no worries, kid, make that motion.
So I move to approve revised compensation rates for temporary part-time parks and rec positions at the following hourly rates of pay. Basketball referee, $40. Soccer referee, $40. That's per game, right?
Per hour.
Per hour.
Per hour, okay. Baseball umpire, solo or home plate, $25. Baseball umpire, second umpire and bases, $20. Basketball bookkeeper, $15. Basketball clock operator, $15. And non-volunteer event staff, $15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great,
Look at them.
thank you.
Moving on to item 9, transfer station solid waste management. 9A is updates. The only update I have is apparently we got the machine working again for bulk cards, so they will be available at the Village Market now.
Good news.
That's good right now.
For, was it bulk?
Bulk, yeah.
Yeah, moving on to item 10, roads and bridges, 10A updates.
Other than the obvious, I guess the guys are out. I would just to ask everyone to continue using caution on our roads with wind-blown snow. You can come on it just about anywhere right now, and it's hard to keep up with throughout the day. And trees down, there's still going to be cleanup at the edge of the road. So just be cautioned until better weather prevails.
You clearly took Middletown here.
What's that?
You clearly took Middletown here.
Yes.
Had all the above.
I had all of the above. Absolutely.
Please thank the crew for all their work. I know how hard that, I can only imagine how hard that is. Yeah.
Yeah, there were people reaching out today, supporting their efforts.
Yep. All you got?
I think so.
All right. 10B, discuss Brophy Lane warning sign.
Hey.
So you're here.
Hi, thanks for hearing. How do you want me to proceed? I sent you in some photos. I mean, there's the end of Brophy Lane, is the brook. There are no cars going over the brook. I mean, I have a photo here when I walk out. I mean, in the scheme of things, guys, this is nothing. I get it. But, I do come up to this house. It's nestled in the woods. this is like, when I look out my hallway, in my thing, I see the sign, like, from the window in my house. And it just doesn't seem.
They have these for,
Yeah, but I'm saying, but this is literally from inside. Like, you know, do I really need to see that there? I mean, it's not a big deal, but you know, I say my family, you know, I come up here, we've had the house for 14 years now. We love it. And I was very happy when the sign at the corner of Brophy and Sherwood Forest went away. I think it was only up for like a year. My instinct is this was a reaction to the bridge that some people didn't like, the footbridge that I know was thought to be dangerous and was in the neighborhood for a couple of years and then disappeared. And then right after that, the two signs popped up. And it felt to me like a little bit of an overreaction, perhaps, by somebody. I was glad to see the first one gone. I don't see why we need a big red sign behind. If you look at it right now, you don't see it because it's covered by a huge pile of snow. In the spring, you can see there are two big rocks in front of it. There's no road there. You know, it just feels like it doesn't fit in with the location. It's, you know, yes, I did use the word intentionally, quiet enjoyment. That is a legal term. You know, you use the quiet enjoyment of your home. You're in the woods. You're looking out and you're seeing a no-go sign where there are just no cars. So I really appreciate if we can do something about it. And I'm happy to help, frankly, whatever's involved. I mean, you know, I haven't been very involved, but you know, we don't plan on going anywhere. We love the house. We'll be here probably for a long time. Now my boys are older, we're up here more actually, because I worry about them in school. So that's what I'm here for.
Well, thank you for your concern and interest in that. I think you described the situation accurately in that the footbridge that went up did draw sort of fresh attention to the area, and at that time, in conjunction with the Forest Service.
Right, because there's that sign there saying that the trail is unauthorized. There's a sign out there on the other side, so.
Right, the Forest Service actually owns the land, and the town has, our right-of-way continues across the river and connects to another town road. But at that time, because of the bridge, we actually looked to our state level of support on what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And what we did was with their guidance.
It
And
doesn't surprise me, you know?
Right.
And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, like, you know, it's the state coming down, you know, and that's what they would recommend.
Right, and so a year or so ago, it was a little time has passed, we did kind of look at it and went back through really what was required and what we did at that time, and we were able to take, you know, dismantle some of the constructed barrier and the signage and stuff like that. But really at that time we took away the optional stuff, and what remains really is what the state suggested that we...
On a road that hasn't been a road for, I don't know what, how long has there not been a car bridge that went across?
Well, I mean, the history of it does go back a ways. I think there's two things with that, though, is the temporary bridge, the footbridge, brought new attention to it. So the response was to that, not the historical part of it necessarily. And the other part is that the road actually still shows on Google Maps that it connects, and it doesn't
show. I mean, I know it did on old GPS devices, like old Garmin devices.
I'm looking at it.
No, I live down on Tallwood, and I've seen box trucks go down there still.
I've seen. I mean, we've had the house for 13 years. Every once in a while, somebody comes down and they turn around.
Can get it taken off of Google
Yeah.
Maps.
I know,
if you work
I've
hard.
tried at this location. I've been successful at some other ones.
Yeah.
I haven't been on this, but I just did try to do
A call out sort of.
well, I tried to get directions from Route 11 to Winhall Hollow, and it went out to Route 100, did not go through.
Right, that's what it does pretty much all the time now. I don't have to do directions, I run it very often, but
right. I
What,
think
is there a site that I could look at and read where the interpretation is that sort of cross the end of the line is required?
Yeah, there's a thing called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the MUTCD.
Right.
And I think that's where they grabbed that from, and they also contacted the state of Vermont to see what they do, because we're not experts in the MUTCD.
No, I totally get it.
So I'm pretty sure that's how that,
And did they give you a section? I'm guessing that.
it's a book.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you could,
They didn't give you a section.
but it's online, you can look it up, and.
And what do we call it? Like a road that doesn't exist?
It's a bridge out.
What are we looking for?
it's
kind of a
specific
bridge
to
out.
the bridge being out on
it
a
bridge?
town right away.
Okay, bridge out.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to look that up.
And
So, in other words, I guess, and again, guys, I'm just trying to understand, you know, clearly.
Yeah.
And in the scheme of things, it's no big deal, it's just a little bit annoying, if you ask me. It was not in accordance with whatever it is, the MU, whatever, nobody gave a you know what. Then the footbridge traffic drew attention on it as we were dealing with taking down the footbridge and all that flowed from that. Someone said, hey, by the way, the ordinance requires X and Y. So X and Y was one, the sign, no outlet up at the corner, and two, the marking right sort of at the point. And then we went back and looked at it. Is that a fair sort of assessment of it?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we actually went out and met with the Forest Service, and they were.
They came to our
actually-
house, I remember, they actually knocked on our door and asked if we knew where the bridge came from and all
Yes,
sorts of
they
questions.
were actually the most upset about the whole thing. And that was a driving force for the town to take action, because they called a meeting, invited us to go down and look at the site, look at the bridge, and, you know, they have their rules are far more strict
No, I get it.
than state level or town level, obviously. It kind of goes incrementally
I get
down
it.
to here.
Yeah.
But that was definitely the driving.
So is it a federal parks thing, or it
No.
it drops down to
It-
the entity center?
The influence, if you will, came from them, but it's a state statute. So a state.
So just to be blunt about it, to take it away would, because you had that conversation, and because you went through it with them, there's now an expectation that it stays there. So to take it away, even if it wasn't noticed at any point, you guys would be putting yourselves a little bit on the line, because you made probably some sorts of representations to either the state or the Parks Department about putting it there. So it's not that easy to just take it away. So it's what
I think that there's separate things. The footbridge, that's part of the Green Mountain National Forest right there. So that was the illegal construction within.
Yeah, nobody's asking for that.
So that was one
But
thing.
it was a lot of fun, I must admit.
They just wanted the bridge to go away, the bridge went away.
Right.
But my recollection is, you know, it's a federal document, the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and so every town has to go along with
Can you
that.
send me a link to that, actually?
Just look at MUTCD,
Just get the right.
that's what I just Googled, and it'll tell you. And then, you know, if you look at, 9 out of 10 traffic ordinances throughout the state, it says, any road signage shall be in compliance with the Manual of Uniform, the MUTCD, because it's standardized signage that everybody in the country should know, and that's why,
The bridge is out.
yeah, and that's one of them there, and it's an insurance issue, frankly.
I appreciate that. That's what I was getting at when I said,
Yeah, if
since
someone
you
were to
had a
get-
conversation with them and they said you had to do it, even though nobody would notice it, should something happen, it would be on, that would be a problem for the town, for my vote. I completely understand that, guys.
Can I ask a question? Are they talking about the bridge that was the illegal footbridge that is quote out?
Yeah.
Or was there another bridge that was a legitimate bridge?
No, the illegal footbridge that the National Forest wanted.
See, that's-
So if it was,
that's the
but if it was illegally put there in the first place and you get rid of it, then it's a non-issue. So why would you need a sign that says bridge out.
That's what I was.
I think the biggest
it's the road bridge from 40 years ago.
Right, and so to that point, the illegal bridge brought attention to it.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, this is clearly a disconnect in a town road that continues across the river. And when you look at this uniform rule, it says you're supposed to have this signage there. The sign should have been there all along.
But that's what I was getting at. They're saying because the road bridge is out. But of course, the road bridge has been out for 40 years. And of course, there is no road. So to your point, like it's silly. I mean, but I think what you're saying is until, and I thought it was updated, until Google and or Apple Maps no longer have it as an active road, technically the road has a bridge out. Therefore, you need to sign, even though there is no road on the other side of the brook.
Well, she lives on the road further out.
Right, but you can't get there. I mean, I've hiked up that. There's no road there.
Well, physically, there's
40 years ago.
physically, there's no road there, but it is a town trail. So the classification is there. It's a town right of way. It's not a built road like you picture with culverts and gravel.
Right, but
stuff
my
like
only
that.
point, isn't a sign like that, and what he's talking about, the MU, whatever the heck it is, that's meant for car bridges that are out. I mean, hiking bridges over streams do not result in, big signs. And my only point, notwithstanding whether it is a town right of way, it has not been a car right of way. You tell me, 50 years?
Probably not.
And so it's, again, I'm not questioning the insurance idea or technically somewhere in there because it's a road, there's a requirement. I happen to be a lawyer by training, so I understand all of that. But we all know it's sort of silly because there is no car road. So I guess, would it be, where does the insurance, where does the rubber hit the road, no pun intended, on the insurance issue? Is it, we have to get it to not be considered a car road? So, should I write an email to Google and Apple and see if we can take it off?
I think it's probably the most effective
car directions?
I mean, I've done it in the past where you put in a request to make a change to a map on Google, and I've had it done for the town office road. It used to be old school road, now it's old school street, and the little stuff like that you can do. I put in a request for this a year or so ago,
Right.
and nothing's coming.
But it's not Brophy on the other side, is it?
No, it's
What is it called?
Rollin. R-O-W-L-E-Y, Rollin. And, until such time as we have that removed,
You can't take it out.
I kind of can't. I mean, I'm happy to put in another request, and I think another way to do it is through our E911 coordinator, who, if they report it to the state, I would bet dollars to donuts that the state's E911 coordinator has a direct link to Google Maps and Apple Maps. They subscribe to another entity that creates the maps.
So let me ask you this, Sean, right? Or Shane, sorry. I'm happy to help. Like, you just went through how busy you are. I'm busy also, but I'm happy to take the time to write to this person.
I sit next to him.
Otherwise coordinate with them. So how could I help, or how could we make that request? Because it probably would be better coming from them than, just some schmo who's got a house here.
Well, you're not a schmo, and let the minutes reflect, you're not a schmo.
Good enough.
As far as I'm concerned, anyway. But, it's very easy for me to connect with Will Goodwin, who's our E911 coordinator. I sit next to him.
That would be great.
And see if he can do something through the state, because it is important.
That would be great, and I appreciate it, because I do think it doesn't fit. I do think it's not necessary. Again, everything's relative. It's not that big of a deal, but it'd be nice to not have it.
I don't think, not everyone disagrees necessarily. It's more just like, you kind of do what you're supposed to do, and then if something comes up, you find a workaround.
I understand. We take it away, and some car goes over and lands in there, and then we're screwed. I completely get that. I don't want to I don't want to put the town in a position where you lose from it. I want it to be a win-win. So, which is why if we can work with this guy at the 199 and whatever it was, Shane has it. I'm happy to be involved and help. That's what I'll say.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully we can get that off of Google and
Yeah.
that'll be good.
Excellent.
Is that the first step to then evaluating whether or not that sign needs to look like that?
I think it might just be a question to the state agency too, to see if there's any other things that cause this, you know, classification or whatever it is that triggers putting these types of signs up, you know, so that
Would boulders?
reevaluate the
Yeah.
parameters.
There are two boulders.
There are two boulders.
There are two boulders in front of it. And this time of year, you know, you get the pile of sand and then you get the snow. I mean, it's, you can barely see.
Well, and I do think that,
The boulders
like,
by state standards, because they don't have anything reflective on them, do not count.
right.
Boulders don't.
Yeah, you gotta have something reflective that you can see.
I see
at
what
night.
you're saying.
And I think that, you know,
Put a
because
reflector on something on the,
this all looks kind of fresh still because of the other bridge being put in its place and, you know, blah, blah, blah with that. I mean, if this spot was left alone for any length of time, the trees are gonna grow up and it's gonna keel over
and you
and.
know that it's not a road.
Right, exactly. So for the time being, when the road led to a bridge, you know, you take the bridge out, there's still like a gravel apron, you know, that.
I get it.
Mike
it's-
Bickman would probably be able to answer some questions on that.
I think he was involved in the
But
initial part of it, maybe even, I don't, maybe Shane recalls better than I do, but.
We could do is change the, I'm looking at the state map on it, and we could reclassify that little piece that connects to the river and to,
As a foot.
yeah, it's like 0.1 miles. We could reclassify that as, because right now it's class 2, excuse me, class 3. We can make it a class 4. It takes some
That's another
doing,
step,
but it's
but yeah,
doable.
yeah.
Because at the other side of it shows as,
I think it's legal trail beyond the.
it's impassable or untraveled.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it's not good.
All right, cool.
So that's another thing.
What was the 199 thing?
E911.
Oh.
Yeah, and we have every town has a local coordinator. Ours is Will Goodwin, who's also our zoning administrator. And, you know, again, I tried, didn't work so well. But again, I just tried to, map out a trip from, Winhall Hollow Road to the school. And it brought me a whole different way, even though that's the straightest shot. So there must be something in there that prevents people from using it.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate the thought. Shane, what's the appropriate follow-up?
Well, I started an email to Will already, and I'll get that done.
All right, I'll check in for that. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
And
for raising.
I know you're in Amity, so you're up on Tollwood, on that road over there that goes.
Yeah, a little bit taller.
I think the lawyer from my closer was Amity also.
Yeah, probably Gary.
Not my lawyer, we had Young.
Yeah, that's who I had.
Cool. Well, hello there. Well, thanks, guys, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Sure.
Moving on to 10C, adopt annual V-Trans certification of compliance with town road and bridge standards and network inventory.
We do this every year. It goes back. Well, first of all, we get the same email and letter from V-Trans every year, and it goes over, they hit a lot of different topics, but one is there's a town highway grant program, which is the next item, and talks about financial plans. That comes up next month. And then the town road and bridge standards. These are really important because this is kind of where the rubber hit the road, dealing with FEMA, trying to show that in fact we have adopted the state rules and the state codes and standards. So getting this done every year timely is really important when we've found out the hard way through FEMA. we luckily did have all the information, and so anyway, we're in good shape, and just do the same thing this year that you did in the previous years.
I would make that motion. I move to approve the annual V-Trans certification of town road and bridge standards and network inventory, and authorize the chair to sign the certification on behalf of the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 10D, discuss V-Trans fiscal year 2025 municipal highway grant application.
So we just got this, this document we get every year, and we can apply for a structures grant, such as what we have for Spring Hill Road culvert. And we can apply for funding for Class 2 road paving. And that is, we have an active one right now, and that's for Landgrove Road, which we need to jump on soon. But anyway, we're probably not real close to the top of the list on applying, but we can still apply. And we did last year, and
Was it for Spring Hill last year?
I hope, I wanted to look it up and I didn't. Give me 1 second. I'll find out what we did last year. 2024, it's a meeting of 219.
This is one of those grants that you typically win like on a roughly a 7-year rotation or something.
Something like that, yeah, but you always put in because sometimes other towns forget, and then there's money sitting there. What did we do last year? I don't know. I'm sorry for not being as well prepared as I'd like, but I
was thinking it
something
was-
in last year.
Spring Hill, but
Makes sense.
I think the biggest thing is that hydrologically connected, the type of project for the grant has to be
No.
hydrologically connected, which just means the ditch goes directly to a stream or a lake or something, so that it prioritizes more sensitive.
Well, we might have done Stone Line ditching last year. Either that or Spring Hill Road, so.
Oh, I
yeah.
put in last year for the Windy Rise Lane West culvert.
Yeah.
That got turned down.
We want to try again for the same one?
Oh, no, we just paved it.
I know, we talked about that actually, but.
We could, I mean, the application's ready to go, I just have to change a couple of dates on it, probably up the dollar amount a little
When's
bit.
it due by?
Not for a while. We could, put this on the agenda next month, next meeting,
Yeah,
if Josh
put
could
on
be
the
here.
agenda next meeting, let's talk to Josh about it, see if he's got anything in mind.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
So, moving on to 10E, consider applications for excess vehicle weight permits.
We did get one submitted, and I distributed to you all, just came in from Record Concrete, who submits every year.
Insurance is all in order?
There's, if you read the second page, they're on a funky date.
It's current
It's
on
March
file.
3, yeah, but we have it on file.
Sounds good to me. I would move to approve the excess weight permits for Record Concrete Incorporated and authorize the town administrator to execute the permits on behalf of the town.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item 11, old business. 11A is river project updates. So, was it 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, we had another meeting with the river project, Megan Arpino from Stone Environmental and Alyssa Sabato from Wyndham Regional. Out of the projects that they were looking at, one was Cobble Ridge Bridge replacement, which is not gonna happen. The other was the alternate access to Cobble Ridge. And that seems to be the most feasible out of the other 3 projects that we had with them. Just because that's something that can be done and ready to go pretty quickly. We will be having a initial meeting with the affected landowners on the February 25th, I believe it is, at 5:30. Just to go over the project with them and see if there's any support. And then, you know, if there is support, we'll come to the full board for that one. And
What's your sense? Is there support?
I got some feedback about it already.
It's hard to tell from what I know. I mean,
Yeah.
it really hinges on whether or not, I think it really hinges on whether or not Cobble Ridge Bridge can stay or it has to go. We don't have a definitive answer on that yet. The state's looking into that for us.
I had one landowner on the end of Dairy Woods contact me representing himself and 2 neighbors. And, you know, they said they get the issue, but they don't support having that be a full-time access for the entire development with the bridge completely removed.
Yeah.
I think in the event of an emergency, if the bridge was in place and temporarily people had to use that as an access, I think there might be more support if it were presented that
That's
way.
what we've been pushing to the state, is we keep the bridge, we have an alternate access. That way, if the bridge happens to have another problem and they got a way out, we don't have to build a trail. But
Right.
it seems too that they're saying, according to the BCA, the bridge might have to go because the alternate access wouldn't look like a new, they're treating it like it's road relocation.
Right. I think the hard part with a project like this is that the program and the funding is driving the design of the whole project. And I think that's kind of the problem, is that when we said, oh, you know, I mean, this wasn't an idea that the select board came up with necessarily. We were talking about alternates. And when they were here presenting the program, if you will, then the project turned to fit their program instead of to fit what we were suggesting was a possible project.
Yeah.
That, you know, so I think we have to kind of be clear on what our intention as a board is and what their goals or limitations with funding and, you know, like their program, like you were saying, it has to check a box,
Yeah.
which means that if they pay to put in the alternate route, then the bridge has to be removed. And my feeling is that if it ends up changing what we really need, then maybe the whole project should be reconsidered, because it's, taking out that bridge is not, I don't think we're gonna get support for that.
No, I
mean-
believe that's what the landowners are gonna say myself.
And we're not gonna be forced to take it out, are we?
Only
Well, if we wanted
accept the
FEMA funding,
Yeah,
we
so
would be.
I
Or
think
we
that's,
might be. The state's going over it.
Right.
Stone Environmental did the BCA on the project, and they tried to get from the state whether or not we could keep the bridge, and the state said, we don't know. So now the state has their BCA, and they're going through it again, and trying to figure out if the BCA will still pass if the bridge stays or not.
BCA is the benefit cost analysis.
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry for everybody. I've been down the FEMA rabbit hole way too deep. And then, the other project that we were looking at was, basically the confluence of Utley Brook and West River. There's so much to that project that we thought maybe we can put it in as a phase project. And as we get more information, we can do something there, possibly.
Will they pay for design, you think?
Yeah, that's, through a phase project, that's probably what we'd do, design first and then,
But you'd scope it first or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
and so that one, possibly has some way to go on it, but
It would be a shame to miss out on any type of funding, obviously. However, I mean, I think with a project that makes the most sense for the most people and has the most support, I think is, what we should pursue.
I agree.
and the final project that they were looking at was the, Barker Road culvert beneath Reinhardt Road culvert, replacing that. And they said if that was our only project, we could put that in under Rivers, but if you have other projects, that's not gonna get funded under the Rivers project.
Gotcha.
They did draw up a preliminary sketch of it and everything, but
I mean, not to pick one right now, but I think that the Utley Brook confluence project is one of the most major things that we could tackle.
yeah.
Specifically below the dam, where we've determined that nothing's gonna change down there unless we make separate changes from the dam, and I think that one in my mind would be,
I agree. There's just so much to that one, that's why we were thinking we could do phase
it would have to be.
projects. So many landowners you gotta contact and
Right.
all sorts of things you gotta look at.
Well, and I think that it's also a project that could hinge on other projects, particularly wastewater even, where, there's land in the area that could be used if it wasn't being used currently for wastewater. So it's sort of a big picture that
Yeah.
it would be one little piece of something much larger and more complicated, but.
But after this landowner meeting, our next meeting, Alyssa and Megan plan on being at our regular meeting to go over everything.
That sounds good.
But this initial meeting is really just to give them the idea of the project and see if there is support for it and if there's even point in keep working on it or if it's back to the drawing board.
Right. Alright,
Fair enough. Thanks.
good.
All right, moving on to 14B, Village Wastewater Project. Consider amendment to engineering services agreements.
One of our ARPA, the North Village ARPA grant was audited by Vermont Agency of Natural Resources. I don't know why, because it started about 2 months into us having even signed the contract. We hadn't done any work yet. But they went through this whole audit process and determined that the grant agreement that we signed with our contractor, which was given to us by the agency itself, did not contain agency requirements. So, I went back and said, why didn't you give us the right one to begin with? And so anyway, we could just play games with them all along, but, so we have an agreement, amendment, it would be our first amendment of this, that includes this language that they want us to include. I figured we'd do it for both north and south, because they could always audit us later for the south, and then they'll request the same thing. So I had our contractor put it together. It also acknowledges that the design schedule has changed a little bit, and so that's in there as well. So it's not a big deal, but it's just in order to meet the audit requirements. They also want us to change our purchasing policy to require us to do a debarment review for any contract. And my feeling in a debarment review is you have to go to the government website and also the Secretary of State's website to make sure the contractor you're working with hasn't been debarred. And my feeling is, we shouldn't have to do it for every contract. If we have to do it for a contract that we're required to do it for, then we'll do it. And so I'll come back with some language for at the next meeting that throws in a sentence that says, if we're required to do it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
It just seems so ridiculous, but we need to pass this audit.
Shane, did you just put that in as a requirement during the bid package for a contractor to acknowledge?
Well, we have to actually do the search. The town, as contracting entity, has to go on the website and do this, go through this process. Not a big deal, it takes a couple of minutes, and, you know, none of the contractors around here have been debarred. I don't think anybody in the state of Vermont has, and so it's just they're asking us to change our local policy, which to me makes absolutely no sense, but we'll do it.
I'm happy to.
Further discussion, and we can make a motion.
Any discussion? Okay, I move to, 1, accept the proposed first amendments to service agreements with the Dufresne Group related to the provision of engineering services for the 2 village wastewater projects. Such amendments to A, revise project submittal timeframes, and B, specifically include standard state of Vermont provisions for contracts and grants. And number 2, to authorize the town administrator to execute the contract amendments on behalf of the town. The initial engineering service agreements with the firm were reviewed and approved by the board on May 20th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 11C, Town Office Renovations Project, approved bond documents.
Our bond counsel provided a whole slew of documents that you have beginning on page
46.
It's a little further on than that. It's the lead sheet.
The actual.
It starts on page 46, where there's an email from Permer, Piper, Eggleston, and Kramer. That's our bond counsel. Just setting forth all the things that the board needs to approve tonight and sign off. So before we leave, everything has to get signed, and we have to ship it up to Burlington, and then it goes to the bond bank in Montpelier. But it's very important that everything get properly signed off. Some of the documents indicate that it's being signed at another date, and that's just the way the bond bank requires it. It has to all be done ahead of time. But the bond has been approved, so this is just formalization of that. And I'm sure you didn't read it all, but it's just standard bond resolution information, be it, whereas and be it further resolved. There's a lot to it. I have read it through, and it's not like we have any options but to sign it, because it's $1.3 million. So. The rates don't get set. They got set today. I didn't get any notice of it. Today's the rate setting day.
You don't care to make that motion?
Sure. I move relative to the 1.3 million general obligation bond necessary to fund improvements to the Londonderry Town Office Building. Such bond having been approved by the voters of the town on March 7th, 2023, to adopt and execute the resolution and certificate, the loan agreement with the Vermont Bond Bank, and the general obligations bond, and authorize the town clerk and town treasurer to attest and certify these and other necessary approvals.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
You thought it was 2004?
I don't know.
24?
Was it March 7, 2023 or 24?
I'm almost positive it's 23, because I checked on it. Just let me double check, because you raised it.
It was 2 years ago.
Right.
It seemed odd. What do the documents all say? I mean, it'll be in the documents.
Yeah,
right?
special town meeting minutes, 5/7/23.
Okay, so 5/7. 5/7?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, and there's the clerk certificate from April 10, 23 for it.
Okay.
Who seconded? Taylor.
All right, moving on to 11D, town office renovation project, consider change orders. Hopefully the last one, or some of the last ones.
Hold on one second.
Excavation and concrete stuff.
Yeah, there's a couple of change orders. One has to do with the east door, the one facing out to the woods. That had to come off to begin with, just to, have, for access in and out of the building and to change out the doors. But they did find that it really ought to have a new foundation poured underneath it. We could get away with it. As you saw, there's another change order in there for like $3,000 or something like that, but the feeling was we're gonna do it right. And it'll help protect that door and end office space that's right in there.
It sounds to me like frost protection, digging to a new depth and pouring concrete below grass. I'm not 100% versed on the details of this, but it was not uncommon in the past for lower levels. The footing goes right across and there's a doorway there and there's it should really be 5 feet in the ground. So it sounds like this is kind of what.
Yeah, at this point, we're kind of doing everything right, fixing the mistakes that may have been made in the past, and, it has to get done in one way or another, but there was a lower cost version.
There's an alternate.
Yeah, that's $3,780. It's just a whole different,
That was just to build, all they were gonna do there was build like a single roof over that door. You know what I'm saying? Just the roof, instead of putting the enclosure back on that was there.
Right, so it'd be an overhang instead of like the concrete work and everything else. It would just be.
pretty much. So
Okay.
it's,
Yeah.
the architect's recommendation is to go with the higher cost one. I think it makes sense. So there's that one. The next one is for $24,453. That is going underground from the building itself out to the pole that's at the corner of Old School Street. And even if we didn't go underground, we'd still have to put in another pole in between, off
Maybe
to the
even
side.
two.
What's that?
Maybe even two, they said, because you can
Something
only
like
go
that,
60
because-
feet between poles.
Because of the additional load to the building, it's just a heavier duty line, and
Shorter distances between poles and everything.
yeah, and so the idea is just go underground, so we don't have to worry too much about it. It is additional cost, but there would be cost of putting in, getting a new pole in and stringing all that anyway. We don't know what that cost is, but the idea was just get this underground, and
Will it interfere with paving that parking area or not?
this will go in well before the paving.
Before.
Yeah.
And we looked at other options. We looked at one option of putting the wire over to a pole and then going underground for a short distance. And then GMP came back and said that you could only go 60 feet between poles. So you'd have to go 60 feet, and then underground. But
Right.
by the time you did all the extra poles, it'd be about the same. There wouldn't be much difference.
Yeah.
Now, we do need to make sure that, over by the existing pole, that we'll have to build some kind of a small structure there. And the architect is working on that. We need to check in with Will Goodwin to make sure that there's no permit required, or if there is, that we submit. We also need to be mindful of the property lines there, because it's not only, does Jim Fleming own property there, but the library has some land in there as well. So it's just some technical stuff to be.
Yeah, it'd just be a little thing to have all the electrical panels, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, and including the electrical for the solar panel as well, so it's
Because
pretty
originally
complicated.
they were looking on putting most of it right on the wall next to the clerk's office where the window is, and we were,
it would really not look good. And I think we would have some major pushback from the State Historic Preservation Office.
Yeah.
It's a major pushback on that.
I think going underground, it's always a little bit more, but in the end, like you were saying, the offset of doing it an alternate way, it's not like exponentially less money to do it with poles and do it in an adverse way.
We beat this one up pretty good. They looked at all different options.
It seems like it's always more organized and just clean looking and more appealing, especially for a nice newly renovated building.
Yeah.
And we also have a credit back to us, and that has to do with the data room, what's going to be done by the electrician, and we've chosen to work with someone who specializes in that we're going to be hiring through Pete Smith, who's our IT person, and guy has had, I guess, a death in the family, so we're still waiting on a proposal from him. So we'll probably end up having to pay it back anyway, but we did get a credit.
Yeah.
So that's them. The project's going really pretty well. I was in there today, and it's all drywall's done, and they're starting to paint, if they haven't already, in some spots. But they're really taking it to it, and I think as far as I know, we're on schedule.
Awesome.
That sounds great.
It's gonna look really nice.
Yeah.
It really is. It'd be worth taking we should have a little tour once they've painted. Or once they get to a certain spot, we should just take a quick tour.
That'd be
Yeah.
great.
It's really impressive.
Absolutely.
Anyone care to make that motion?
I would make that motion. I move to authorize change orders for the town office renovation project as follows. To make structural improvements to the east basement entrance at a cost of $8,285, and to install underground power from the utility pole to the building at a cost of $24,453, and to acknowledge a change order credit of $4,294 due to data wiring terminal being done by others, and to authorize the town administrator to execute any documents necessary to implement these change orders.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item 12, new business. 12A, consider request to use town hall, Weston Theater Company.
It's pretty much the same agreement we had last year with them.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the only
Included in
thing
the
is
meeting.
the first dates they're requesting, we might still have people in here. A little bit. It was in
don't know.
May, I believe.
May 13th.
Yeah.
It's possible. I'm
I mean-
hoping that we won't.
Yeah, we're hoping we won't, but there's a possibility we might still have some people in here, but
When they used this before, did they use the downstairs part too?
no.
No,
Just
I don't think so.
for laboratory, probably.
I mean, obviously, we're up here too, but I mean,
We should be all right.
Yeah, I would think we should be, but
the date is it's a month before, right?
Yeah, we're supposed to be done in April.
Yeah.
yeah,
Should
we
be
should
fine.
be
It's a
fine.
good win-win.
Yeah.
And we haven't charged them, and I don't know if you want to, they did pay for the electricity last time, but could charge them.
I think paying for the electricity is fine, especially considering they have a lot of money they gotta put into the playhouse.
Yeah,
I think it's a good cause.
right. Like
Yes.
Community effort.
It is.
I'm happy to move it. I move to authorize use of the town hall for theatrical rehearsals by the Weston Theater Company for the periods of 5/13/25 to 6/8/25 and 6/17/25 to 7/13/25, and authorize the town administrator to sign the facility use agreement on behalf of the town. Such authorization is subject to the condition that a certificate of insurance acceptable to the town administrator naming the town as an additional insured shall be provided to the town administrator prior to issuance of the written authorization.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
James, you seconded that?
Yes.
Moving on to 12B, consider employee compensation matters.
I move to adjust the annual salary for Liam Elio to $57,000, effective 1/1/25.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
12C, executive session pending or probable civil litigation or a prosecution to which the public body is or may be a party per 1 VSA 313A1E.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge of probable prosecution in the matter of an alleged violation of the short-term rental ordinance will clearly place the town of Londonderry at a substantial disadvantage. Second.
Yeah, you got a second that one.
Oh, sorry. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I also move to enter executive session to discuss probable prosecution of one or more violations of the short-term rental ordinance to which the board may be party pursuant to Title I VSA, Section 313A1E, and invite short-term rental administrator Andy Dahlstrom and Shane O'Keefe to attend.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Came out of executive session at 8:30. Moving on to 12D. What is it? Discussion on upcoming work priorities for assistant town administrator / project coordinator.
Yeah, 2 weeks from tomorrow is town meeting, and after which I'll no longer be your town administrator. And actually, after that week, because I'll have built up vacation, I'll just be taking that vacation the rest of that week. And so starting after that, I'll be assistant town manager, town administrator, / project coordinator, and limited to 10 hours per week per our contract. And so I just want to make sure that that I'm being efficient with my time. I don't want to be going, by contract, I can't go over those hours, and so I want to make sure that we're all in sync as to what you guys want me to be doing with my hours.
What do you think 10 hours is going to give you time for, knowing what your workload is?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking I would be in the office on Thursdays, try to hit the meetings for the town office project. I think, to me, the most important thing right now is to bring in the MERP funding for our two projects, which is, $450 some odd thousand, $430,000, I think. That's, to me, really important that we bring that money in. So, and just given my experience with the town office project, that I would continue to work on that. And we have Thursday meetings, so that would be an easy day for me to be in the building itself. I could work from home other hours. So that's what I'm thinking, maybe like Mondays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Thursdays, whatever it needs to be. But a lot of times I just work as stuff comes through and I deal with it. But, I don't want to have to be spending time. Right now, one of the things I do is if someone has an agenda they want put to the town website, it gets sent to me and Tina and Ally, and, most of the time it's me who does it. I don't want to be doing that. I don't think I should be spending time doing that sort of stuff. I don't want to be necessarily reviewing the town administrators' emails that come in, but we have a 20-day period where there'll be no town administrator. So I just need to be really cautious about what I'm spending time on. again, I think the most important projects are the town office project, and the Spring Hill Road culvert project, though that now appears to be ending up in the next calendar year, just because of so many delays at the state level. But we'll be dealing with some right-of-way stuff coming up, but, you know, so town office, Spring Hill Road.
Making sure Reinhardt Road culvert is processed
Yeah, the
completely.
Reinhardt Road culvert, and then the wastewater project. But I've kind of backed out of the wastewater project already, because we have Matt Bachler from Wyndham Regional doing most of the, you know, a lot of the work on that. He also works with us on Spring Hill Road, so I just come in, you know, on an advisory capacity with him on stuff. And if things need to go to the select board, I'm drawing that connection. So I think those are 4 projects that I can stay on, and hopefully that not too much work at any one time. But you know, a lot of the day-to-day stuff that takes up a lot of time, I don't want to be doing. You know, we do have one select board meeting between town meeting and when the new town administrator comes on. I can't remember the date.
25th.
March.
24th.
She comes on the 24th, but it's the week before then, so it would be,
18 or something.
yeah, whatever it is. So there'd be that meeting. I can assist with putting that together.
And that's mostly housekeeping, really. Chair, vice chair,
It
all that.
is, and I've got that, you know, we do the same thing every time, so
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. I just cut and paste the motions and all that, so I can spend a little time, but I just think the 4 projects are real important. And then we also have, you know, once Eileen comes on, I obviously would need to be sitting down with her to go over, you know, what's on the computer, you know, where things are, and do some of that. But she'll also be, you know, we do need to bring on the VLCT consultant to help her with that, and there's certainly better ways to do things than the way I've been doing it, I'm sure. So anyway, I just wanted to talk to the board about this now, so we're not scrambling later on.
Did Kathleen ever get back to you on that email about what she wanted the process?
I haven't heard.
I didn't see anything either, and you asked her to copy me on it. So
No.
I was just wondering.
I haven't looked.
My sense is that there's the 20 days or so that you've said that there's going to be nobody as town administrator. And I think, Tom, if you're able to sort of look at emails, or I worry about stuff getting missed in that period. And I don't, if I can help, I certainly can, but you're probably more familiar with it. But then it is the bigger projects that you're going to commit to, and that you should be dedicating your time to. So you articulated most of it appropriately there.
I just want to make sure that we're on top of revenue, you know, bringing in money whenever we can, because, you know, as we get in, like say for wastewater, we get in bills from engineering and from what have you, and we need to make sure that we're drawing down funds and we do it the right way. So to me, that's a critical function, is just continue to bring in revenue. You know, I mean, we can continue to talk about it as things shape up, but I just wanted to jump on it early before we're scrambling.
Yeah.
No, I think 2 things at play. One is, you know, your 10 hours is not a lot of time for what is there to be done. And then along with that, we're going to be without somebody entirely. So it's sort of, it's kind of twofold for a short period, and then it'll be, because of that period, the remaining part of your period to June or whatever, you know, with Aileen or Eileen, it's going to be tricky to manage those 10 hours for sure. So
It will.
Definitely makes sense to pay attention to it and make the best use of it, because it's not enough time to do everything that needs to be done.
Right.
So it's about prioritizing.
Exactly, and just being efficient and throwing stuff to other people as necessary.
And I think if you and, is it Kathleen, who's the gal from DCLT? You, Kathleen, and Eileen, in the first part of Eileen's tenure, sit and figure out how to allocate her time best, and then you can begin to segue away from that as Kathleen does whatever this mentoring role is going to be, because I think that can be a big help to Eileen coming in.
I think there's kind of two phases to her introduction. One is to the town of Londonderry, and another is to the town administrator role. Yeah. And so yours would be to our specific town, and Kathleen's could be more directed to the actual position.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that would be an easy separation so that it's anything to take things off from Shane's.
Yep.
And what I'll need to do is, and I've done this in the past, is try to make sure that when I hand over the laptop, or, I presume she's gonna get a new one anyway, but, that everything's in good order, that it's easy to figure stuff out, and she's not wasting time trying to figure out what things are. And so I can be helpful on that. Because I have my own way of doing things, and everybody does. I just want to make sure it makes sense to her.
Yeah, without losing the essence of the material. The process is one thing, but the material itself is...
We do have one shared file where it might be just easy to have some of the projects just sitting there that anybody can look at.
Are you taking your laptop, right? Did we...
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, I was gonna just contact, with Tina, just contact Eileen and say, ask what she wants.
Yeah.
Small or large, whatever it is.
Makes sense.
How do we make sure that everything that's on your computer that eventually goes to you, or goes home with you, that's appropriate for the town, stays in the town, or gets somehow loaded into a shared drive or into the cloud?
Everything's in the cloud already.
It is, okay.
Yeah, it's already there.
Right, the function is remote, or
Right.
I don't know how to describe
Right,
it really.
and
but-
on day one,
Right.
she'll open up her computer and she'll be seeing all the town administrator emails. I wouldn't.
Yep.
I'll just take the one that Sharon used to have, which is admin assist at Londonderry. So we parked that email address for some time. It's just sitting there.
And I don't,
Yeah, that'll actually be pretty easy.
yeah, and I don't know that you need to come to the meetings, our select board meetings, unless there are, I mean, I'm not keeping you from them, but that's a time sucker-upper. And if there's easier ways for you to communicate the project work that you're doing to us, maybe it's in a report, or maybe it's once a month or something like that, but that's...
Right, if you did attend the meeting, it would be, just for an
Representing
update,
those, yeah,
it could be...
those projects.
Yeah.
Right, and I would try to, make sure that I'm being productive with that time. Get here and do paperwork that gets filed in the vault, things like that. I mean, there will be some things that will continue to need to be handled on site. Some things. So the next meeting is the night before town meeting.
You'd be,
Gearing up for that.
okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you for leading us through that conversation. It's,
Who wants to do last?
Well, I've been thinking about it, and we also need to, also be mindful of, once we get to that 10 hours, if there's a need for additional work, what happens? I could just say, see you next week, but sometimes that's not the best way to go, so it's just something to think about. I don't wanna.
I mean, in terms of squidging hours from one week to another, or?
Yeah, I figured it's a 2-week pay period.
Right.
So I figured if I do 15-1, 5 of the other, or
Yeah.
10-1, 1 of the other. I mean, it's a maximum of 10 per hour, 10 per week.
Yeah.
over time, I think it'll calm down a little bit. I think at first, I'll be maxing it out, that's my sense.
Yeah, I feel like until the period where we don't have one is passed, and like the first couple of weeks of what, with our new administrator will be the, I mean, just, what's that? It
It's
could
like
put
20
us-
days or so, just.
Yeah, it's probably through April, and we'll still
I
have.
could monitor the emails, you know, I could, but again, it's just, some days I open it up, I get 30 emails before 9 o'clock,
Yeah,
and you gotta deal with them. And then, you know, one of the things I didn't mention is that the application for Judy Platt, you know, for that whole project, you know, I had to, that had to be done over the, you know, some of it over the weekend and today also, and so those are sorts, other projects off to the side that need to be dealt with, when that was a real time sucker today.
yeah,
You know, a lot of stuff out there.
yeah.
Anyway, enough.
Well, I certainly appreciate the time you've spent over the years, and I think we're gonna feel that gap for sure, so.
Well, Eileen could be a rock star too.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I
Fully expecting that.
look forward to that as well, but it will be a noticeable change, just saying.
What's the last motion?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.